Heart first leadership isn't what you say, it's how you show up, how you regulate, how you communicate, and how you execute when it matters most. We are Heidi and Ryan Sawyer, and you are listening to the Heart First Leadership Podcast.
Welcome to or welcome back to episode 2 of the Integrated Performance Podcast. We're going to dive in a little bit today to the integrated performance method. Like, what is this? What is this idea of living our life from the inside out, merging our inner and our outer worlds? Like, what is really going on? What are we talking about here? And what is the problem or narrative that we're kind of addressing, and how are we going to address such narrative and problem out in the world? Well, first I want to talk about just simply, where does the majority of our motivation lie from? Like, where are we operating from? Where are we coming from? Like, what gets us out of bed in the morning? Why do we strive? What do we want to achieve? Why do we want to be approved of? Why do we want to be acknowledged? Why do we want to feel connected? Why do we want to know who we are? Why do we ask these incredibly deep questions? Who am I? Why do we want to find this purpose and meaning in our lives, contribute? All these different components of our life that really drive our decision making, that drive our performance, that drive our seeking and searching for what, right? So what is this all about? At the end of the day, what we're talking about are these basic human needs. And you can break the basic human needs up into multiple different categories. One is this idea from a fundamental level that we want to feel psychologically safe. If we feel safe, then we are comfortable to then explore different possibilities, different options, have more different things that we can look at in our life saying, wow, what else is possible, right? So at the root level, we're talking about finding and navigating towards psychological safety, or just safety in general. So it's easy to say the first part of that is physical well-being, to know that we have the ability to breathe, right? I mean, just think about this. If somebody were to be taking away your breath, how hard would you fight to make sure that you could take one more breath, right? Physical well-being would be just even water, food, shelter, even the ability to move your body, exercise, warmth, touch. These components of the basic human need for physical well-being, if we wouldn't have one of these things, if we didn't know where our next meal is coming to put on the table, we would go to great lengths to make sure that we could put food on the table, right? The second component of basic human needs is connection. To feel like we are connected with others, that we have a part of a tribe, that we are accepted, that we're acknowledged. We're acknowledged from our boss, from our teacher, from our coaches, from our spouses, even from our children, whoever. We want to be acknowledged for how hard we work. We want to be acknowledged for who we are. We want to be acknowledged and appreciated and feel like we belong. Right? We want to be respected. This sense of connection is a basic human need that we strive for. And third one is a sense of self. So this ability to just have choice, autonomy, independence, to be significant, to know who I am and to know who it is I'm presenting to the world, and to see my world reflect back to me with that same self-concept, to be creative and to be able to express oneself, right? This basic human need to know, who am I at a fundamental core level. And then beyond that, once we feel like we're safe physically and we have the sense of connection and tribe and community and we know who we are, then there's a sense of meaning that we strive for. And if we don't have this meaning, there's this existential vacuum, is what Viktor Frankl calls it, where if we just have this huge hole within us, and so we have to have some sort of meaning to our life. We have to make sense of our own suffering. We have to make sense of what life's purpose is. What's the point, right? And so there has to be some sort of knowing that we are contributing, that we're making a difference, that we're challenging ourselves, that we're growing, and we're discovering what it means to be a human. So here's the interesting piece. All of these different components of the basic human needs, if we don't feel like they're being met, we then will go to great lengths to make sure that we feel like they are being met. Because when they're not being met, we then create these narratives and these habits and behaviors that are not serving. So, for example, if I don't feel connected, I'm going to go to great lengths to feel like I am accepted amongst my peers. So if I don't feel like I fit in, let's say that I'm a high school student and I don't feel like I fit in, I might go outside of my own integrity and do something, say something, or be somebody to try to feel like I fit in, right? So I'm going to potentially sacrifice my sense of self to feel like I fit in, right? Which is then going to potentially impact how I take care of myself physically. Even the meaning of my life will then be questioned. So these human needs interplay off of each other as well, right? And if I don't have any sort of meaning in my life, I might go to great lengths to try to figure out, like, what is my life's purpose? I might set extreme goals and try to build businesses and want to have a certain role or identity. So then therefore my life makes sense. So you can see how when these needs aren't being met, it creates a disturbance within us. It creates a narrative within us. It creates a belief within us that then we go to work to try to overcome. And we create this sense of separation. One of the things that happens when we feel like these basic human needs is we become extremely outwardly focused. We become so outwardly focused that we think that our sense of being good enough, of being worthy, of connecting, of fitting in, of belonging, of knowing who we are in something outside of ourselves. And this outwardly focused way to life is something that we're being trained to be, where our brains are being wired to be so outwardly focused, not just because of the basic human needs, but also because of the amount of information and social terrains that in this current age we're asked to traverse. From social media to news to media to just expectations in general of the things that we're expected to do. This high information and high demand world causes us to become extremely outwardly focused, thinking that our sense of being, belonging, and knowing who I am is in some sort of role, achievement, identification, or accomplishment that's in a container outside of myself. Therefore, I then go to great lengths to try to reach such goal, to try to have some sort of status, to try to reach some sort of achievement, or to have some sort of a role or identity that says, hey, see, look, now this is who I am. Because in this high information and high demand world, because of all these different social terrains that we're trying to cross, from social media to otherwise, it gives us, our youth and even, adults, this sense of lack of control. Because we can't control what's going on these screens and in the world and everything else. And when we have a sense of lack of control, it decreases our sense of self. And if our sense of self is decreased, negativity creeps in. It destroys performance. And here's the thing. We then over-identify with the roles, with our job, with the sports that we play. And when we over-identify with these things that are outside of us, we're leading ourselves down a path of unnecessary suffering. So maybe this sounds like you. Let me say a couple narratives. You have this incredible strong desire to be great, to serve, to give back, but yet your performance drops in high-stakes situations. You often experience a sense of overwhelm because there's so many things that you have to do, want to do, trying to do. You lack motivation from time to time. So you have a hard time. You're really good at sticking to your goals for a month or 2 months or even longer, but then you have a hard time sticking to them. Because here's the thing, what happens is, let's say you reach one of your goals. Let's say it's even a weight loss goal or a financial goal or whatever it is. It doesn't even matter. It's something that's outside of yourself. It's something that's material. It has form. It's outside of yourself. You reach the goal of making X amount of dollars. You reach the goal of becoming a starter on a team. You reach the goal of some sort of job title, right? But then when you get the goal, you get to the place, you buy the new house, you have the money, you don't feel the way you thought you were going to feel. It doesn't actually feel this hole that you're looking to try to search to feel, to fill, to feel a certain way. Does that make sense? So what you're doing is you're actually saying, okay, when I get to this certain destination, then I'm going to feel the way I want to feel. So when you get there, you have the thing and you realize, oh my gosh, I didn't do it. Right? So it's like, what's the point? So it's hard to continue to stay motivated if you're putting so much ownership on the external world, on extrinsic motivation. So therefore, you feel uncertain about what's next. You tend to settle in less than you deserve. You even beat yourself up when things don't go a certain way or the way you expect them to or want them to or desire them to, right? And this now creates this narrative where we're in our head. I just get in my head. I hear it all the time from youth, athletics. And then they say, like, what's the point? Or I'm afraid of failure. All these different ways of narratives are a clue or a sign that we may be too outwardly focused. And so when we become outwardly focused, we start to develop this incredible unhealthy relationship between competition, and we start to compare ourselves to others. Our self-worth is attached to a specific outcome. So if I win, I'm a winner. If I lose, I'm a loser, which is not true. Like, this is a whole conversation that we're going to unfold later about competition and about this idea that what are we doing to win the game? Are we doing this to win in life? Are we doing this to grow and to heal and to evolve and to become adaptive systems that are resilient? Or are we doing it just to say, look what I did? Right? So we have this unhealthy identification with the roles we're playing, with a certain outcomes, with certain achievements. And then we're putting our self-worth in that container that's outside of us, in the container of money, achievement, of material items, of goals, of whatever that may be, which makes us live somebody else's expectation. We're seeking approval. And in that seeking for approval is trying to meet this basic human need of feeling connected, of knowing who I am, of my life having meaning and purpose. Right? So we become very resistant to change. We almost kind of feel like maybe like someone's out to get me. And we then find ourselves either having to belittle others, retaliate, or compare. And maybe this even sounds like you. Maybe we even socially isolate because we don't feel safe. We don't feel safe in our own world.
We are all leaders. If you're ready to stop waiting and start impacting your environment in a powerful way, we want to connect with you. Click the Book Now link in the show notes to book a call with a Heart First coach and discover what Heart First leadership can look like in your life and in your environment. Now back to the show.
Therefore, we don't feel safe to step out. We have this kind of like either I'm better than or I'm less than narrative. One or the other is happening. I look around the world and I say, oh, geez, I wish I had what they had. Or, I'm not as good as them, right? Or why do they do it that way? This is how I do it. This two different narratives. I'm better than or I'm less than. And we even potentially would exaggerate accomplishments. We potentially exaggerate and make up stories to try to feel like our life has meaning or that I know who I am or I feel connected to be connected. Right? These are things that are happening when we become overly outwardly focused. And one of the reasons why we become outwardly focused is because that's how we're being trained by our world. But also because we are not aware of these basic human needs. And while we're striving, we're coming from this place of lack. If I am trying to meet this need that's outside myself, then I'm saying that I don't have. And if I want, the root meaning of the word want, that's something outside of myself, is saying that I don't currently have. Therefore, I'm operating from a place of lack rather than a place of love and abundance and being pure, whole, and complete. So what do we do about this process? What we do is we say, listen, we are being trained to be outwardly focused. This is a random, unintentional, non-constructive way that our brains are being trained. This is improper training. So we have to learn how to train our minds and therefore our experience and therefore our self-concept ourselves to create a whole different experience of life, to perceive the world differently, creating different outcomes and a different relationship with the world. We need to be able to come back in and create this inner to outer focus, this integration between our inner and our outer world. The integrated approach is this merging of our inner outer world, saying basically taking this incredible sense of responsibility, saying that my outer world is the reflection of my inner self-confidence, my inner self-imagery, of my self-concept of myself. Therefore, I learn how to take the outer world, to use that to transform my inner world. But I'm always coming from the inside out, saying if there's something that makes me feel not good enough, not worthy, not lovable, not adequate. That thing is for me to be able to transform my inner world, saying that's something that's in need of healing. That's my way to be able to grow, to adapt, to evolve. So I'm able to find this balance between being intrinsically motivated, saying this is how I want to feel, this is how I want to conceive of myself and my self-concept, and then stepping out into the world saying this is the goal that I'm going to set. I'm going to set this goal because I know that if I reach this goal, I'm going to have a greater awareness of this true essence that lives within me, that is good enough, that is worthy, that is adequate, that is lovable, right? I'm going to have a greater awareness of it. And if I have a greater awareness of it, by being able to hold my attention on what I'm aware of, I'm able to have a greater connection to this true essence. And the more I become aware of my truth that is within me, that I'm good enough, that I'm worthy, that I'm adequate, that I'm lovable, regardless of my external circumstances, then I am going to have this expanded capacity to operate from that place, coming from a place of being pure and coming from a place of love and coming from a place of being whole rather than constantly seeking outside of myself. And when I do this, I'm able to integrate these parts of myself that are separate, these parts of myself that are trying to protect me from these needs that were not met at some point, either in my early childhood development or just yesterday, this need wasn't met. So therefore now I'm today going to go meet that need. And I'm going to overstrive and I'm going to overachieve and I'm going to overpush and I'm going to create all this stress and disturbance within my life, externally and internally, to try to make sure that I can prove somebody wrong. I'm going to prove the haters wrong. You don't need to do that. It's this illusionary way of living our lives that somehow something outside of yourself is going to make you feel the way you want to feel. When we're able to merge this inner and outer world, we're able to come back down to the present moment, bring complete focus to what's right in front of me and say, in this present moment, my focus is right here because I understand the larger picture of what I'm wanting to accomplish, what I want to experience, and the impact that I want to make. So this integrated way of living, we're taking full responsibility, like I said, where we're able to merge this inner and outer world. Like it's like holding up a mirror in my face. And if I want something to be different in the world, then I need to create it differently within myself. If I say to myself, I look at my son and my son is settling for less than he deserves, I'm going to put the mirror back in my face and I'm going to say, how is it that I have settled for less than I deserve in my own life? And how can I take an authentic action towards this idea of embracing and accepting the fact that I'm worthy, right? So if there's anything that I see showing up, and I'm saying to myself, whether it's judgment, comparison, or either something that I like out in the world, it is a mirror. It is a mirror. It is a mirror if I'm judging somebody else, right? If I say that person needs to be more compassionate or we need to show ourselves more compassion, it's going to start with me saying, I'm going to show myself more compassion. Therefore, I'm going to be able then to project and share that with others and show others more compassion. We create this life of this beginner's mind, making life our training ground. Again, always using the external world to try to learn, to grow, and to heal, to adapt, to overcome, to become more resilient. And really, at the end of the day, this creates this world that is this incredible, abundant place where everything is a gift. Everything is a gift because it's for you. Imagine if everything in your life, every little trigger, every little internal disturbance, everything that looked what we consider to be good, bad, or indifferent was a way for you to be able to become more aware of who you truly are, to have a greater connection to that truth, and to be able to expand your capacity to operate from that place. When we start to become aware that this is the truth of who we are, then we can make these tiny little turns of the screws, these incremental shifts towards this highest version of ourselves and awakening that part of ourselves and stepping into that truth. What is the outcome of this? The outcome of this is to understand hey, we train our bodies, right? If you're an athlete, you train your body to be flexible, to be mobile, to be strong, to be powerful, to be fast, right? Well, the truth is this: when we learn how to become inwardly focused, to be self-referential, to be able to look at ourselves and say, how is it that I am co-creating this experience in my life, whether it be through relationship, job, sport, or whatever it is, and I'm able to ask myself in that moment, whatever's showing up that is undesirable, and say, how is this for me? What other possibilities exist? How does this lead to growth? When I open my mind up like that, I become more flexible. So we train our bodies to be flexible, mobile, strong, powerful, and fast, right? But how are we training our minds to do the same? Because our minds are going to be what creates our experience and creates our decision making and everything else. So when we are able to open ourselves up, we become more flexible. The ability to adjust in a wide range of environments and circumstances. We become more mobile. The ability to transition from one moment to the next, to traverse these different plateaus of life from one moment to the next. So therefore, I'm able to say this moment just happened, it's now over, and here I am. I'm going to say I'm a baseball player, and the last at bat, I struck out. I'm not going to hold on to that. I'm going to learn from that. I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to be here and now at this at bat, even all the way down to the micro goal of saying this single pitch is right now. I'm going to learn from the last moment, but I'm not going to hold on to it, and I'm not going to make it mean something. I'm not going to over-attach to certain outcomes and expectations, therefore impacting my ability to perform in this present moment. I'm more mobile. I'm stronger, so I'm able to train my mind to have strength, clarity of vision of why I'm motivated to do what I'm doing, and the ability to push my limits, to push myself to the limit of what I'm capable of with confidence. I'm acting from a place of faith. And then from a place of power, right? So my mind is now becoming more powerful because I'm beginning to understand and have the knowledge of the different principles that govern this sense of experience within my body, within my mind, within my system, and what is potential. What is the potential to create change, to collaborate for good? And then speed, to be able to have a fast mind, to make decisive decision-making ability, and to be able to reduce this refractory period where we maybe have a moment of joy and then we dip down into a moment of despair, or we dip down in a moment of doubt and fear. And we just use those moments, even all the way to desire or courage. We can use these moments as a point of inspection to say, where is this coming from? Where am I operating from? How am I looking outside of myself for approval, for the sense of being good enough, worthy, adequate, or lovable? What is it that I need to be? Who do I need to be on the inside to be able to say that the outside world does not have to show up in a certain way for me to be okay? Right? So I'm able to actually relate to the world from a place of saying, I'm able to meet my own sense of psychological safety and then stepping out from that place. Now listen, people talk about stepping outside of your comfort zone. Let's get something extremely clear here. What I'm talking about is stepping into the unknown with a sense of psychological safety. When I was in a place where I was struggling, suffering, in a depressed state or anxious, whatever you want to call it, this roller coaster I used to live in my life in the past, I'm telling you that I didn't have to step outside my comfort zone because the experience I was experiencing at the time was known, but it was not comfortable. What I needed to do is step outside this known experience of suffering into the unknown where different possibilities existed, and then therefore I could create and condition myself into a new experience of life. But I had to step outside of the environment. I had to step outside of who I was currently being, the thoughts, the concept, the ideas, the beliefs that I had about myself and the world. I had to step out and try something new. Try on a new belief, a new thought, a new behavior, a new pattern, and create and condition my body into realizing that the only place that we can create change in our life and transform and evolve and adapt is in the unknown. In the present moment and in the unknown is where anything is possible, where all possibilities exist. So it's not about pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. It's about pushing yourself into the unknown while knowing that when I venture into the unknown, I'm going out to sea and it might get turbulent and it might get rough, right? I'm able to come back to this safe harbor where I'm able to come back to say, hey, in any moment, in any situation, in any circumstance, I can learn how to regulate, self-soothe, meet my own needs, get back to this place of feeling safe and secure in this green zone, and then be able to step back out into a high stakes, high situation, a challenging, competitive scenario with this sense of knowing that I'm good enough, I'm worthy, I'm adequate, and I'm lovable. I'm going to go achieve so I can have a greater self-concept of myself, a greater connection to that awareness of who I truly am, the ability to operate from it, right? So I'm now coming from a place of being pure and whole. I'm not looking outside of myself. If I reach X, Y, or Z, then I'm good enough. Then I'm worthy. Then I feel safe and secure. So it's about stepping into the unknown, going out to sea, going out to the unknown of the turbulent waters of the ocean, knowing that at any moment I can be back at the harbor, safe and secure. Internally, my internal environment is independent of my external circumstances. And to do this, we have to be able to create this. We need to be practitioners. This is not something that just happens. It's a wonderful idea. It's a wonderful idea that in any moment I can regulate, I can soothe, and I can come back into my own harbor, but it takes practice. It takes mastery. And so we have to create a version of ourselves that is willing to sit down, that is willing to spend the time to actually deliberately practice and rehearse being this version of ourselves that's able to step out and come back and be safe and expand our capacity that way. Now, one of the things that I noticed working with either leaders, CEOs, actors, or with teens is that if we don't feel safe and secure to step out, then therefore our ego is created from a place of fear. We're operating from that lack, and then therefore our ego is created from this place of fear. And really the only thing that makes it possible, especially for our youth, to step out is if they feel psychologically safe to do so. That they don't feel like they're going to be socially rejected by their peers. That these human needs are not, that their sense of being okay are not in these human needs that they think are outside themselves, that we can learn how to make it in an environment within themselves and within their four walls. They say, this place is safe. So what is our job? Our job at the end of the day is then therefore going to be one where we're able to impact the environment. We're able to impact the environment to where we're able to create this place of psychological safety, right? So then our teens, our youth, our communities can operate from that place. That place is being projected to them, and they're able to operate from this place of being psychologically safe. I really, truly, my passion is to impact the younger generation, so they can step out into the unknown with complete confidence and knowing that they can meet their own needs, self-soothe, self-regulate, and push themselves to levels they never thought possible. But we have to practice control. We have to know what we're in control of. We have to practice compassion because we can't be judging the version of ourselves that didn't know what we didn't know yesterday. We have to learn how to train our mind to stay calm in high-stakes situations. We have to train our mind to be able to build confidence in the unknown. And if I'm able to be confident in the unknown, I can create anything. I can have anything I want. And therefore having complete clarity of what it is that I'm here to do and why I'm doing it, which gives my life meaning. Now I'm not asking these questions of saying, what's the point? I'm not feeling the overwhelm. I'm not over-attached to certain outcomes. We don't have to win for me to be a winner. What we have to do is for me to do my best and to learn and to grow and to adapt. And to focus on others, of being a great teammate and all these different components, whether I'm on a team, whether I'm in a business, or I'm an entrepreneur, we set the goals to awaken our soul. We set the goals to have that greater connection. We set the goals knowing that that's going to be the path that's going to unlock my potential. Therefore, being able to expand what is possible and the impact I'm able to make. So again, this is our goal. Our goal is to shift from being outwardly focused to being inwardly focused. And we're going to have conversations with all kinds of different people, and we're going to be learning and growing together of uncovering how is this possible? How can we take our minds and train them from being so outwardly focused where we're putting our sense of self-worth in some sort of container outside of ourselves, being able to open ourselves up and be able to reflect internally and say, how is this for me? How is this going to lead to growth? What is the gift in this situation? To be able to see and select different possibilities. Because here's a final thought. If I am outwardly focused, I make this present moment, this current situation, this current disturbance within my life, whether it be relationship, financial, business, or otherwise, mean that this is how it's always going to be. My brain legitimately narrows its perception down to this present moment, collapses time, and it can only see the one possibility that's outside of me saying, because this person rejected me, that means that everybody's going to reject me. So therefore, this one friend who who was in integrity with themselves, I'm making it mean that I'm not worthy, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not lovable, because that's what the brain is doing, is because it's so outwardly focused. Right? So, but we can open ourselves up to be able to say, okay, here's the present moment. I can be single point focused on it, but I can see the bigger picture, that this too shall pass. This moment shall pass, and that other possibilities do exist. And I know that I'm good enough, and I'm worthy, that I'm lovable. Therefore, I'm going to let this present moment go as it is. I'm not going to judge it. I'm going to accept it. And then I'm willing to venture into the next moment with this sense that I'm good enough. That's the goal. And it's very possible, because I've done it in my own life. I've seen clients do it. I've seen friends. I've seen family. I've seen my wife do it. I've seen my own son at 9 years old recognize that he's being outwardly focused, come back, meet his own needs, and step back out in the world with confidence and go achieve things that impacted his life and the people around him. So this is the journey we're going on together. The next episode, I believe, we're going to talk about an environment of growth. So what does that even mean? How do we create it? Where does it start from? And what are the impacts of it? Thank you so much for your time and listening to my rant and rave. This is going to be so much fun. I look forward to continuously connecting with you.
Thank you for listening. Remember, leaders go first. Alignment matters. And the environment that you create is the legacy you'll leave. We'll see you on the next episode.